Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes, episode 213, Vintage Torque Fest. Hey folks, hello and welcome to episode 213 of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. I'm your host, Royboy, from RoyboyProductions.com. That's the website where you can find all the hot rod and custom car show photos that I take all over the country. And that's where you can see them all for free. Over 100,000 images on the site for free right now. Plus, all these podcasts on there. So this episode is pretty fun. We sit down and talk with my good buddy John Wells, who's been a guest on the show before. And we talk about Vintage Torque Fest, one of the events that he puts on in Iowa, which is a really tremendous good time. And I apologize about getting this out a little late because we're only like a couple weeks before the show right now. So getting it out there, get the word out about the show. Hopefully, if you're anywhere in the area, you make the trip up at least for Saturday and check out Vintage Torque Fest in Dubuque, Iowa. Enjoy this interview, and I'll catch you on the flip side. All right. Well, it's been a few years since I started this podcast, but one of the first people I had on it back when I started was the guy that's going to be a guest this week from Iowa. The one of the people, not the man behind, but one of the people behind Vintage Torque Fest, Retro Rewind, which I think just finished up its run, and then of course Iron Invasion, Mr. John Wells. How's things in Iowa today, sir?
Oh man, we're doing good, man. I really appreciate you letting us take over your bandwidth. It's definitely a weird time, and this is only the second, I think, Zoom thing I've ever done in my life.
I promise I won't be rough on you. I promise.
All right, because I'm not real familiar with all this stuff. So
I mean, I can get in there and change your face to a clown face or something.
Please
if you want me
don't.
to. Okay, we'll just leave it.
It's clowny enough already.
Me too, brother. So you would ask before we started recording, when was the last time we saw each other in person? Man, I don't remember.
Greaserama, probably in.
Okay.
I was there. Well, I've been there every year since whenever. So
Right.
Probably 2019 or 20.
Well, and I think I went up last year, but I don't think we weren't there a terribly long time. I was having some stomach issues at the time, and it hit me right as we got there. And about 2 hours into it, I was like, okay, dude, we got to go, because turns out I have something called Barrett's esophagus, and it's just it's basically slowly allowing acid to build up, and then it was just incredible heartburn, like pull me over in two kind of heartburn. That's fixed now.
Good.
But that day was rough, and my buddy was riding with me. He's like, you want me to drive? I'm like, no, I got it. Curled up in a ball for 3 hours. Yeah, I was kind of dumb. But yeah, it's been a while since we've seen you. I was thinking back the other day. I think I texted you. I found the 2013 Vintage Torque Fest banner. I had one of those.
Yeah, man.
I bought one of those. I think you had a deal where you're like, hey, we're going to do a run of these at this price to raise some more money.
Right.
So I picked one up. I guess we should probably tell people, for those who don't know, Vintage Torque Fest and Iron Invasion are two events that you're putting on. Now, Vintage Torque Fest has been in Dubuque for a few years, but just outside Dubuque for a few years. Where is Iron Invasion at?
Now it's in Davenport, Iowa. It started off in Woodstock, Illinois.
Yeah. So you're a couple hours closer for me.
Right. When you were doing your tour, 48 and 48,
yeah.
You came to Iron Invasion, and would that have been 2014, 15?
No, that was 17. And I rolled in with Roman Chariots because I was staying with Scott.
Right.
And so I rolled in with those guys, and that was a lot of fun to be a ride along with those guys for a day.
Right.
But I think I've been up to Woodstock 4 times, I want to say.
You went that many times?
Wow. The Galaxy's only been there the one time, but I've been up there. I know I went once by myself, twice by myself, and then once with my dad, and once in the Galaxy. So at least 4 times. Wow.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. It's been it's a lot of miles. So Dubuque's gonna be a lot closer. Davenport's gonna be a lot closer. And I guess I was starting to say, I kind of interrupt myself with a question. These shows are traditionally style hot rod and custom car shows. But you do it all
traditionally inspired.
There you go. But you do it all to raise money for Helping Hannah's Heart, a foundation that you guys started. It's helping out a lot of people. Why don't you talk a little bit about the creation of the foundation and all that stuff, and then we'll go back into the car show here for a little bit.
Yeah, the Reader's Digest version is that I've been out doing shows for 20 years. You and I met way before we were doing shows, and so I had our daughter had some major heart issues, and so the Los Punk Rods, who do Greaserama, and the Cheaters Car Club out of Milwaukee, I'm really tight with both of those clubs, and I said, hey, we're gonna do a fundraiser. Well, actually, Cheater Carl said you should do a fundraiser to help pay for your medical bills. And so I told Punk Rod Todd about the idea, who is the president of Los Punk Rods at that time, who's since passed away. And he said, if you do this, you have to pay it forward. You have to keep on going, because we had no money to do this event. And what I wanted was to steal the idea that Scary Larry had at Jalopy Showdown out in Pennsylvania, because it's simply the most fun I've ever had at a show. People are just having a good time, with or without cars. They're just having a good time.
Yeah.
And the cars would go out in the mud, and everybody takes turns, and everybody's hooping and hollering, just really having a great time. So I said, this is unlike anything that I've ever been to. I want to bring this back to Iowa. And Scary Larry, he was totally cool. He gave me a lot of advice. Punk Rod Todd gave me a ton of advice about what to do, what not to do. And so our first event had like 400 cars. It was at Farley, Iowa.
I was there for that one.
Yeah, you were there.
So as I'm rolling into town the night before, as soon as I hit the county line, my primitive, smart, pretty stupid phone started going nuts because a tornado warning had just gotten issued for the county where the show was. I'm like, you know what? I see a truck stop right there with a McDonald's, or I don't remember what it was. Like, I'm going to pull in here. We're just going to wait about an hour before we finish the last 30 minutes of this drive.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's because it is in spring. It's always like, the weekend before Mother's Day. We've had a lot of weather incidents.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of part of it. And
the day of the show was great, though. I mean, that Saturday was fantastic. And, they worked that track. I think I want to say they worked the track from like 7 or 8 in the morning. I want to say till 3 or 4 in the afternoon to get it to the point where the cars could be on it.
And and the reason they were so adamant about making that happen is because that My Classic Car, Dennis Gage, he came out to film. And so they really wanted to have that footage, and editing that wound up being like 13 seconds on film,
for 8 hours worth of work.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so, that's part of the dedication of this whole crew of everybody that's been involved in our shows. They're all into it. They're all gung ho, and they're all like really happy to be a part of it. And so I think that's really like the heart of the success of the show, is the fact that people are so dedicated to it. And, we've had weddings there. We've had proposals. We've had, it's not a great story, but it's very telling about how important these shows can be. We had a guy, and he'd been to every show, and I think this is 2016, and we got an email from his daughter, and she said, hey, my dad is not doing well. He's been in hospice for about 6 months, and he just wants to go to Torque Fest. And I'm like, okay, I mean, what can I do? Like, I can't push the show up, So the guy hangs on, and so they get there really, really early so that he can watch all the hot rods pull in, because there's handicap parking right across the street. And so he passed away watching the cars.
No way.
Yeah. And so it's like, it still gives me goosebumps, man. I mean, the fact that somebody was so dedicated to that show that they lasted, through all this pain and discomfort to be able to go to a specific event and then like check out, So it's that kind of people that are getting tattoos of Torque Fest on it. I mean, I don't have that much dedication, you know.
I was digging through. I've got all my old DVDs on a server, so I don't have to fumble with DVDs because, well, I'm a geek and I'm lazy.
Right.
So I don't want to dig through 400, 500 DVDs and move them from house to house to house.
Right.
I just put them all on a hard drive that I carry with me. It's this box, you know, yay big. So I was scrolling through the night and I'm like, oh man, the old Torque Fest, the old Torque Fest DVDs of the KKOA are on there.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it was like 2010, 11, and maybe 12.
Is it with Gene Winfield out there doing the Run Roach You Brung
Yeah,
Drive?
he was out there for one of that, and then you were out at Bright's at the party filming.
Yeah.
With the super fisheye, like think early, like Gen 1 GoPro. I mean, it's like wide angle, right? Really, really cool though to watch that video. See like so many people I did not know at the time or I just met who become dear friends now. And then of course, like you said, it was some that passed away. But so I kind of remember that. I think we knew each other from you coming to Salina. And he said, hey, I'll put this show on. So I'm like, okay, I'll drive 8.5 hours into the middle of nowhere, Farley, Iowa. Where the crap is Farley, Iowa? It is as far. Doubt. I thought it was as far away as I could get and still be in Iowa. No, that's where you moved the show to a couple years later. That's Dubuque.
Indeed.
And then there was Makokata in between. So I went to that one once or twice.
Yes.
That was a fun event there too. So basically the whole gist of it is it's a car show with a music show with some sort of racing typically going on. Well, it's not always racing. In the early days, it was just, hey, take your car out and do laps on the track.
Right.
And that was a blast. So then at some point you started adding some racing events in, like chain races and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's become quite the spectacle. I mean, I stayed one night and watched that. And then the flamethrower shots I have from that night are incredible. So whenever somebody goes, oh, I'm going to put flamethrowers in your car, I'm like, hold on a second, pull my phone up, boop, boop, boop. Are they going to be able to do this and show this like 40-foot fireball? Like, no.
Right.
Yeah. Is it really worth it then? Are you going to really put them on?
Yeah, those guys have a different mindset also about how to make that happen. And I always like, okay, you guys know what you're doing, right? And I just try to control the crowd so that they don't get too close.
Oh, you know? I was sitting there and all of a sudden the wind changed a little bit. I'm like, that's gasoline falling on me.
Yes, it is.
And they're lighting fire. This is probably not a great spot to stand in. So move over a few more feet.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's I remember at Woodstock, the fire department that was always there, and they were like, yeah, you can do it on the concrete right there. That's okay. And then the wind changed. and they're like, hey, you got to stop, and we're like, okay, we'll chill out, So I think they stopped for a minute and then they turned the cars the other way. But it's like, again, it's the Iron Invasion is always in October, and it's also kind of crazy weather sometimes.
I mean, I've been there when it was snowing on the way into the show. And I remember like posting on Facebook that morning. It's like, okay, I came all the way from Kansas. It's snowing, and I'm still going to the show. So any of you coming from Chicago have no excuse not to make it up here.
Absolutely, yeah. That was
you've dealt with a ton of weather at your shows.
An interesting time. And then we also once had an Iron Invasion 4 inches of rain overnight.
Oh,
and
wow.
so you couldn't park anywhere, and it was. So now that there's several reasons why we had to leave Woodstock, but that is one of the reasons, because now we're at the Mississippi Valley Fairgrounds here in Davenport, and it makes it a lot easier to be rainproof. They've got these 2 giant buildings that we were able to put 2 different stages inside, and put cars inside and motorcycles and all that, and all the vendors are inside. So that way, if it does rain, you still can have a show without any kind of hiccup, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, people don't want to bring their cars out in the rain all that much, but our crowd, I think, are less sensitive to that, than say the Good Guys crowd.
Yeah. It's a little more of a die hard for a good time crowd, and the good time doesn't have to be spit shining in the car to the chromes about better wear through. It's about hanging out with cool people and getting to listen to cool bands and all that other stuff.
Yes.
So, and one of the cool things,
and that's why I know there's some people out there that they don't like the direction that Vintage Torque Fest has gone over the years. and that's fine. I get it, because it started off as a traditional car show, and then it became a traditionally inspired show, and now we bill it as a vintage lifestyle event. Because I mean, there's people that have no interest in the cars at all, and they come out and they watch the 15, 20 bands that are playing, and they really dig the, all the pinup girls and the people that are selling the vintage stuff. And so, it just morphed into something a little bit different, and that's okay by me. Over the course of the years, we've raised over $100,000 that's gone directly to the families that we know of. We always tell people, if you're there, the family will be on stage. We encourage you to go up and give them money directly. Leave us out of it. We don't care. Help that family out directly. They're there. That kid that you see on stage has had open heart surgery and is going to have more. Help them out,
Yeah.
And so, that's what makes me happy, or, kind of pushes me on, is like, okay, even though this is sometimes a pain in the butt to do all these different things, at the end of the day, if you're helping somebody out, man, I mean, that help, it pushes you along. So,
Well, and I should probably also say that, I mean, the shows are set up to raise money for these charities. Now that you guys have taken care of, have your needs met as far as the medical issues, you've taken it upon yourself to raise money for other families who, they need to go. What was it? One year was like they had to go to Boston or something like that, and it was crazy far away, hotels and flights and all this stuff that they just couldn't swing, just so they can try to make sure that their child gets the medical help they deserve. And I mean, there's not been a single time I've been at one of those shows, especially, when the family's up on stage, and I'm teary eyed. I'm like, damn allergies. It's a heartwarming moment that, I mean, the whole motor family comes together and does good things. Watching the people go nuts during the auctions at the shows. I've watched people pay $1,000 for a banner.
Right.
And then turn around and run it through the auction again. And like the fourth or fifth guy is like, no, I really want the banner. And he's still paying $800. It's already been come up to $1,000 or $1,200 4 or 5 times. And finally somebody has to say, okay, I'm going to be selfish and take this thing home. And it's not selfish, but you feel like it after everybody else has been so generous. You're like, no, I really need to, I really want the banner. I want to raise money too. Here's $800, but
yes, exactly. And I think that those that miss that part of the show, they really are missing out on the heart of the entire show. And
That's
so without that, without that, the show would be hollow, and it would just be like just any other kind of show. But if people have had that experience, just like what you're saying, you will get it, and you will feel that love that is out there.
Ball, so if you hear that in the background, that's what's going on. He's like,
so I'm glad you're able to experience that, and I hope that other people that come to our events will understand that is what it's all about.
And are you still doing the I know for a while you did this, I don't know if you still do it. Is it still no entry fee for the car? It's just a per person fee, or how do you work that now these days?
Everyone pays the same rate. Like it's $20 the day of the show. You pay whatever, like if you want to get the weekend advance pass, I guess like 25 or something like that. So we don't charge for cars. And so we had a guy, and he said, so I've got a used car dealership over here in Dyersville. Can I bring all my cars over here? I'm like, sure. And so he brought 8 cars, and he sold 2 of them. And so he came up to me at the end of the show. He gave me like, he's like, here's an extra $100 for the foundation. He was like so stoked that he's like, I can't believe you just let me set up my cars in here. And I'm like, dude, like we don't care if people bring their cars or not. It's the people that matter to us.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell about a lot of people from I've seen people from Austin, Texas, New York, Arizona, California, Washington State. They come without their cars, and they always say, well, we didn't think we'd have this much fun without having our car here. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to have a car here.
Right.
I mean, it's great that they're there.
Right.
But but you're not going to be, if you're spending time with your car at that show, you're missing everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so much stuff going on at this show. It's designed that way. I mean, I am officially ADD, and if I'm entertained at this event, then I know that everybody else is going to be entertained at this event.
I think I've kind of used that example about you in the show to people. It's like, well, how would you describe the show? It's like, there's a lot going on. It's like, if you have a FOMO kind of thing going on, you're going to really have it during the show, because while you're over here checking this out, there's 2 other things probably going on that you might be able to get to. And you want to see it all, but it's just so much going on in 1 day or 2 days, you can't really get there. I've had 2 sets of my friends from Colorado call me or text me and go, hey, think about going out to the show. Either they talk to you or somebody else invited them or something.
Right.
What do you think of the show? I'm like, worth it. Go. It's like, even if I was like, you've got to go check it out. And so it was Dan and Brooke Dolan. Well, I know I've been there once or twice now, maybe. And Dan's a riot. I need to get him on the podcast, but he always gets shy. When I'm like, the only time Dan's ever shy is like, I want to record some stories. He's like, oh, I don't know about all that.
Oh my gosh, he would be amazing on this stuff. He tells such good stories.
Yeah, he's got a ton of stories.
And he has so many stories.
Right. He's got plenty. And then the other, Robin and Tremaine Johnson brought out the gold wagon they bought from Max.
Yeah.
So the episode really before this, I went to Max's new house in Kansas, and we sat down, we talked, and it looks like things are really going well for me with that move out here. And it's cool to see him. He's 2 hours from me now. So pretty darn close, but
yeah.
And I think that's where I met him first. I mean, I met him there. I'm pretty sure I met Wiesner there in it had to be second year. Makokata.
Probably Makokata, yeah.
And that's where Wiesner ran over my foot on this little tricycle thing. And no, it's
definitely and see, it's memories like that you don't remember the cars, you say, that maybe you do a little bit.
I do, because I shot 2,000 pictures that weekend. I remember some of the cars, but yeah.
But I guess the point is, like, it's the people connections that you appreciate at these shows. And it doesn't matter if it's a Good Guys show or Greaserama or, Lone Star Roundup. I may not necessarily remember the show itself, but I remember the interactions with the people. And that's ultimately what's really, really important about all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, as everybody's been affected by these past couple of years, and, I've had some really close people that have passed away. And now more than ever, man, it's like you need to make those personal connections, because that's what really is going to keep us going, And I can't stress it enough. Just reach out to people and make sure they're doing okay, and make sure that they know you tell them that you love them.
Yeah.
And Travis, I love you.
I love you too, man.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with saying that to people.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people that have a hard time with it, and it's like, it's like, dude, if you can't express that, then you need to look inward also, because it's a short time that we're here, man, and hopefully you make the world a better place, and I think you have, and I'm trying my best as well. So
one of the things that the whole pandemic thing brought in that I kind of wish we could get back to a little bit was, for a while there, a bunch of my buddies would get together every Saturday night on Zoom. And if you could make it, you can make it. If you couldn't, you couldn't. No big deal. But it was just a way to see everybody's face and BS for a little bit. I don't know if it needs to happen every week, but once a month or something like that would be kind of fun because I've got, just like you, I've got friends from all over the country.
Yeah.
And without Hot Rod Dirt Drags, without the Hill Climb, those 2 events in Colorado, I don't hardly ever see some of them. So now we kind of replace those events with other ones. And so now I, go all the way to Utah to see the Salt Lake City guys. And, this year I'm not going to make it to Austin to round up. So there's a whole bunch of people down there that I don't see very often, but now we've got the Hot Rod Showdown that I get to go to down there. So, it's kind of, I wouldn't say replacing shows with other shows, but I'm creating more opportunities to see the people that I want to go see.
Right. And I think that's also good. I think you, with your 48 states, you were able to expand your base of, friends as well by going out and doing that. I always tell people, like, don't go to the things that you always go to.
Yeah, don't go to the same place and park in the same place and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Go do new things, man.
Yeah.
And that's why, I'm like, go to the race at Bunker Hill, go to the Far Out Drags, go out to the Gilmore Auto Museum out in Michigan.
I want to go check
all
that
this
so
stuff.
much.
Yeah. So it's like, oh well, that's an extra hour and a half. Yeah, it's hour and a half there, hour and a half back. Just like cop it up to experience and try it out.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
literally I've driven 18 hours round trip to go to the Retro Rewind, which was 40 cars, 40 bikes, and X number of vendors, and it was basically a 1-day show. I drove 18 hours round trip to go hang out in a 5-degree outside, and so lucky we were inside if we can. But the memories of being down in that stupid little bar singing karaoke, it's hard to describe that to people,
Yes.
I mean, 100 hot rodders with too many cases of PBR singing Sweet Caroline the 5th time of the night.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm talking about, man. Those memories, that's what's important. And who cares about the 40 cars that were there? It's the people.
There were 40 great cars though, too. I mean, you spent a lot of effort into bringing 40 cool cars and 40 cool bikes in. As far as people were, oh man, it's only 40 cars. Like, yeah, there's 40 really good ones though. I mean, it's not your normal Thursday night cruise night. What shows up at Sonic 40 cars? It's handpicked.
Yeah, and it was more and more difficult to get people to actually show up because we didn't want to repeat vehicles all that much.
Right.
And so that's that's why it's no longer. We had to kill that show just because one, it didn't make any money. And so if you're spending, I was spending an entire month to make that event happen, and it's like, okay, here we go. And then one weather event, and you're screwed.
I mean, and how many weather events did that event have? I mean, because I remember the cars coming in, like driving through blizzards to get there.
Yes,
and other guys following them.
Yeah, it was always the weekend after New Year's Eve. So you're talking January 8th or whatever, the worst possible time you can put on a show.
It was literally 5 below zero when I left there one Sunday morning to head home.
And so as a result, you do your best you can for as long as you can, and then you have to also know when to pull the plug. And so that's kind of like what we did with that one. And I got to tell you, man, Iron Invasion is on the bubble as well right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll pull itself out. It's one of those things where we've had 2 years of perfect weather and it's broke even. So, if we're only breaking even,
it's hard to keep doing something for, I mean, especially when you're doing it to raise money for a foundation, to do a charity thing. If you're doing all this work and the charity thing doesn't see any huge bump out of it,
right,
it's really tough to do. If you're doing all this work, if you're doing it for a profit thing, okay, I'll try it a few more years, I guess, as long as I'm not losing money. But if you're doing all this to raise money, like, okay, well, maybe I need to try and put this energy into something else and do better for my foundation. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
Going back real quick to the karaoke, I'm pretty sure I've got a little video of you doing some singing. I'll have to see if I can dig that up. If I can dig that up, I'll edit it into the podcast here at the end.
No. Is it what, Waylon Jennings?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Well, that's the other thing is I can't put it in podcast because then I'll put it on YouTube and YouTube will demonetize me for it. So
there you go. You can't do it.
I'll just show it to people one at a time. We'll walk around. Hey, do you know John Wells? Look at this. Look at that.
And they'll be like, get that out of my face. That guy's horrible.
So I want to say one of them was a duet. I could be wrong. I think you and Luke might have been singing something together.
Oh, yeah. Was it an Elvis song?
It might have been. See, now I'm gonna have to look it up after we're done here and
right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's no doubt that I made a fool out of myself more than once.
It was righteous. It was not making a fool of yourself. It was an amazing feat of vocal ability.
No, it's definitely a good time there, man. I mean, that's one of the allures. I think, everybody talks about Lone Star Roundup, and it's a great show, but Austin is a great, great town, and that draws people to Lone Star Roundup. If that show was in, somewhere in Southeast Missouri or something, I don't think it would be nearly as popular.
Right.
Because Austin is so cool and there's so much to see and do. You got Reggie's on Thursday, just all these different things that are happening because it's in Austin.
Yep.
And so I really think that that's, part of, like in Dubuque, you go downtown and you go to, that bad karaoke bar that looks like it's from 1984, maybe.
I explained to people by saying, it looks like they had the prom there in about 83, 84, and then they just never changed the decorations.
Absolutely.
But I love it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
If I lived in that town, I'd probably go drink at that bar, on a regular basis. I'm living in a town now where, as far as I can tell, only has, if you count Applebee's, it might have 2 bars.
Oh, that's disappointing.
And it's not that I would like to drink, but I just want to go hang out and have fun and socialize. And it's like, okay, look, I guess we're going to Applebee's for that.
Nope.
It doesn't seem
I think you need to open a bar.
Yeah, that'd go over well. Yeah, I worked at too many bars for too many years. I'm happy to be a patron and not an employee.
Okay, all right. But I think you're missing your calling.
Oh, I was a DJ at a lot of different bars. We don't need to go back to those years.
All right. So is it a lot of drunk people requesting Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline?
Not even so much that you can deal with. It was the Macarena years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was the what's the guy, Ricky, whatever.
Oh, Vida Loca?
Yes.
Living the Vida Loca.
Oh my gosh.
Ricky
I blocked it.
Martin.
Ricky Martin.
Yes.
Ricky Martin.
Because they would say Martin.
Yeah.
They wouldn't pronounce the T. Ricky Martin. Anyway.
That's a nice little trip down Amnesia Lane.
Right.
So we've talked about Vintage Torque a lot. I guess we should probably say that this year the show is on April 29th and 30th, right?
April 29th and 30th.
Okay.
So we're always the weekend before Mother's Day.
Okay.
So this is the year that's always kind of weird. And so we back up into April. It only happens once every, 6 years, something like that?
Every few years, yep.
And so, so it's April 29th and 30th this year. And so, we're on course. I thought maybe registrations would fall off with the gas prices and stuff. But man, I think people are just itching to go out because even last year we still had a bit of a downturn with the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think this year everybody's like, okay, we're finally able to go and do stuff. To hell with the gas prices. We're just going to do it anyway.
I did the math the other day. The farthest show I've got scheduled to go to this year is the 4th of July event we do in Dutch John, Utah at Flaming Gorge Resort. With gas at the price they were a week and a half ago, which is the highest they've been.
Yep.
14-hour drive each way.
Yeah.
It was going to cost me $89 more for a full weekend. And I'm like, $89. I mean, that's nothing. I blow $89 on Amazon goofing off, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just buy? So people who are complaining about the gas price, like, you didn't go anywhere for a year. You can't spend $50 extra to go for a weekend to go to this car show thing. Come on, stop.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like a jerk whenever I tell people, like, dude, it's going to cost you, from Chicago, it's going to cost you an extra, $60 maybe.
Oh, if that.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. If that.
I mean, gas is already back down to $3.55 down here.
Yeah,
it was at $3.90.
Yeah.
So, it's already dropped 40 cents a gallon in the last 2 weeks at one of the places I go to here. So, I don't know. Is it going to stay up? If it stays right where it is, it'll be like $60 extra to go 28 hours of driving. Stop.
Right.
$60 is nothing for that for a full weekend.
Right.
I mean, you can't go to dinner with 2 people and tip for $60.
I agree. I agree. But it's one of those things when you're driving by everywhere and it's right in your face.
Oh yeah.
And so everybody sees it and everybody gets alarmed and everybody gets upset. No matter where you're at politically, it's one of those things where people are always going to blame whoever's in charge.
Yep.
Whether it matters or not, and whether that's true or not, people always do that. And so, I'm sure that yes, there's probably reasons for this that have happened in the past, but who cares? Let's just go have a good time.
Don't be a victim to circumstances. Live your life.
Exactly.
I heard a couple who own an RV say, well, I don't know if we're going to go travel this year because of gas prices. I'm like, just stay wherever you go a little longer and drive one less place. It all evens out.
Yeah, I agree.
You're in an RV, so go, but just stay longer in the places you get to.
I'm very glad that you brought that up, and how, in the grand scheme of things, it's very small, because we made a decision for Vintage Torque Fest. For the past 2 years, we have not raised the price on the entry, and this year we were really considering it because of, there's some insurances going up, and there's other things that are going up that affect us. And I said, you know what? After this year, the year that we've had, the last thing people want to see is another price increase on something that they really love. I said, let's just try to get through this year without doing any kind of price increase. So the fairgrounds agreed not to raise their camping rate, and we're not increasing our entry fees for this show. And so even though I can tell you the bands have increased their fees.
Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah, they still gotta. Yeah.
And so
they didn't have gigs for a year, So they try. I mean, that and all their expenses have gone up. Hotel rooms, some places. When I tried to go up to Colorado Springs, the hotel room that was $86 last time I went was $140. I'm like,
we're facing that same problem in Dubuque. Dubuque, they're charging like $180 a night, and we had a room block set up. I think it was 40 rooms here, 20 rooms there, and those got snatched up real fast. So now I get emails from people going, "Why are the rooms so high?" I'm like, I don't control that.
It's not my hotel.
Yeah, if it were, I'd sell it. Everybody gets a room for $50, whatever, But I'm just always telling them, like, well, you can make some good friends by camping out, because I guarantee you're going to make some friends.
Yep.
And that's what I always try to convey to people, is like, yeah, I get the fact that everything's gone up as far as the hotels, and gas is up a little bit, not or a lot. But ultimately, it's going to be those memories that you cherish forever at these events that are going to be worthwhile. I don't remember how much money I spent whenever I took, I took both of my kids to Japan, and on separate 5 years apart. Yeah, exactly.
Just a tiny little trip, just halfway around the world.
Yeah, and so it's like I probably spent, well, I know it was probably $1,000 for the the airfare, but then it's like I don't remember what I spent while I was there. Yeah, it's like, dude, we're going to Japan. This is amazing, So
of all the trips I've done, to all the car shows I've been to all over the country, I remember two things about how much I spent. The 48 state trip, I remember that because that was a big deal.
Right, because your car broke down.
Well, and that was another big deal. Yeah. So just a note, folks, if you're building an FE engine, the rockers have to go on a shaft a certain way, or else it won't oil. And then it doesn't matter how good an engine builder you have, it will melt down on itself. Yes. So yeah, I remember all the details of that. And the other one was went to Custom Car Revival in 2014, and gas was over $4 a gallon in Indy. And I took 2 extra people with me that I had not planned on taking with me, a girlfriend and her son. And we got to the point where on the way home, it was like, okay, no snacks at this gas stop. Why? Because we might not have enough gas to make it to the house. So we're going to use every penny we got on this debit card on gas.
Oh, wow.
I had budgeted a certain amount, and then it blew that out of the water with 2 extra mouths to feed and all that other, 2 extra people to get into the Indy Museum and all that stuff. It's not blaming them. It's not a bad deal. We all had a great time, but it was just a shortcoming on my part for not planning for that,
Sure.
But those are the only 2 times I remember. And it's great.
I was going to say, Kevin's show is one of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only able to go down there in 2 years ago. I was only able to go down there for literally like an hour and a half. It took me 4.5 hours to get down there to be there for an hour and a half.
Right.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it. It was totally worth it, because it's the KKOA is great. but having all just customs in one location is very, very appealing to you and I and a lot of other people that are really into that stuff. So it was great. Just I was, and so I tell people, I'm always like, no, it's worth it. Wherever you're at, go to that show because it's really cool.
So we'll wrap this up pretty quickly, but let me talk about that for a minute. Like Torque Fest, when the last time I went, granted it's been a couple years ago, it was like, okay, these are the kind of cars we're looking for. This kind of fits our criteria. Come in here. Oh, you have a 69 Camaro? That's not really what we're looking for. Great car. Glad you brought it. Park in our preferred parking.
Yes.
Oh, sir, you in the 2005 Oldsmobile Alero, go ahead and park in regular spectator parking.
Yes.
And is it still the way you're doing that there? I mean, because it was like a
so what so
it's not as strict rules like because like 100 car pileup was. It's not like super strict, which was cool, but it's not
exactly.
bad.
Yeah. So I was the culprit. And RC Scott will tell you like, how come you let that guy in? I said, well, because he's a sponsor, and I can't tell him after spending all that money that he can't bring in his 17-inch wheels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's like, well, that's defeats the whole purpose, and he's right. He's totally right. So what we've done is we've come up with basically 1964 and older. You get to park anywhere you want. 1964 and a half, which is where the Mustangs come in, right? You guys have to park close to the entrance right there by the swap meet. Everyone's going to see your car. They have to walk by your cars to see.
From this, they have to walk through your car area from the spectator, right?
Yes. So, so now, everybody for the most part gets it.
Yeah.
And that's why we say now it's a traditionally inspired show,
right,
and not a true blue traditional car show that's very, no billet, no, because it was, it got to be so hard for literally one person to stand out on the gate for 16 hours,
right.
8 hours on Friday, 8 hours on Saturday. And, you can't catch everything.
No.
Like some guy with digital gauges sneaks through and you're like, hey, wait a minute, you've got digital gauge. Well, he's gone,
Right. Yeah.
And then you're trying to chase him down to, get him to go back and park. And it just creates, obviously, the 100 car pileup had the red shirt army,
right,
and they had tons of volunteers, and I want to say,
and they still had cars slip through.
Yes, and people would make such a big deal about it, and I'm like,
I remember one year there was a dude that had duals on his truck, dual tires, and they said, right? "Oh no, it's right here in the rules, no dual tires." He pulls around and takes them off, takes the outside tires off, and lays them in the bed of his truck, and then goes to try to get back in. And I'm just like, "Just park right there, dude. You don't have to be. It's a chain link fence. You don't have to be on the other side of it, Oh man.
So I think there's something to the feeling excluded, and so.
Because we brought my dad's car and we couldn't get in because it was too stock. We actually didn't buy. We bought it there. We had the dealer show up there and meet us with a car. We bought it that weekend, and we just we'll just take it over there. He goes, let's see if we can get in the show. I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're getting in the show. Sure enough, park over there. Okay, fine, whatever. We walked an extra 100 yards. No big deal.
Right, and people that get it, that's great. But there's so many people now that don't get it.
Man. And I got this rat rod Mustang. They won't let me in. I'm like,
dude,
the 66. So no.
The worst we had was this guy who drove. I think he drove 3.5 hours, and his car was like literally a rat rod. Had rats, literal rats all over it. Like the Halloween, cost. Like. He went to the Halloween store and just
like he blew through the front windows of the Halloween store and whatever stuck to the car he left there.
Right, and so he was just fit to be tied, and I rarely get called about that stuff. This guy, he was throwing such a fit. They called me, and I tried to explain it to him, and he just did not understand. And I finally told the people at the gate, I said, if this mother gives you any you call the fucking sheriff.
Yeah,
I was done.
Yeah,
like that was it. And so that guy found me about 3 hours later. He had went in and he paid as a spectator. He left his car outside, and he found me. He said, I get it, I understand now. he had never been. and he heard that it was a rat rod show.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
And so he just showed up, and but once he was inside, and the fact that he came up to me, found me, and took the time to say, "Look, I apologize. I didn't understand what this was. Now that I'm inside, I totally get it." And he said, "And I'm going to come back year after year." And he's like, "I'm going to leave my car at home, but I'm going to come back." I said, "That's cool, man." I said, I said, "Sorry, that you got led here on false pretenses, but
Yeah.
now that he's been there, he's going to come back, because people, when they get there, they don't want to feel like they've been rejected,
Right. Yeah.
And
that's kind of the whole stray cat thing with what Mickey does. Is like, it's called it's called Stray Cat Customs, because I went to a show in my Merc, and it was a street rod show, and they wouldn't let my Merc in.
Wow.
And this was early days, of course.
Yeah.
So he goes, "I don't want to ever turn anybody away. The show is a 64 and older show. It's how we advertise it. But if you show up and your car is cool, we're going to let you in." So a guy a few years ago showed up in a brand new Ferrari, and people were losing their crap. "Yeah, how'd you let that car in?" I was like, dude, number one, if you're going to tell me as a car guy you don't want to take a ride in it, you're a liar.
Yeah. No
Number
doubt.
two, he'll be here for 20 minutes, realize it's not his scene, and he'll split. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, boom, that V12 lights up, and he goes rolling out of there, and everybody stopped and watched that car leave.
Yeah,
I'm like,
course,
look, we all are here about cars, and yeah, that's not what we're here, is that kind of car. But I mean, come on, he paid his money to get in. He realized it wasn't a scene. He was cool enough to leave. He didn't cause a scene. He didn't demand to be.
Yeah.
The only time there's ever a problem there is when somebody like, "I didn't get a trophy." Like, no, this is not that kind of show, man. The trophies are tin cans with stickers on them that say, Shamalama Ding Dong or something crazy, just because it's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hit that same stuff with your show. It's like, well, what kind of classes do you have, so I can know what class to enter? It's like, you're probably not going to be happy at this car show, sir.
And I openly tell people, I specifically try to tell people our show is not for everyone.
Right.
And if if you're going to have some kind of expectation in your mind, you need to, look at the pictures of what you've seen on the internet, and you need to read our rules.
RoyboyProductions.com.
Right. So, but I think overall, the people that get it, they're steadfast, loyal, and true, man. And they've just supported us year after year after year, and that has just grown over the years. We don't experience a lot of like huge growth, but we have experienced growth every year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. You got to eliminate COVID, of course.
Right.
But it's been interesting to see how it just grows a little bit. And to me, that's because guys are going back to work in Minnesota, and they're going, "I went to this event this weekend and it was amazing,"
Hey, or they're going back to Kansas and saying, "You won't believe what I saw last weekend in Iowa."
Right.
And
hopefully, hopefully they'll bring more people next year. And I think that's what's been happening.
Well, Jake out there in his candy apple green 54 sliding around the dirt track. And come on, that car is so pretty. And he's like, "Yep, let's thrash it." It was cool to watch.
Yes,
and then,
exactly.
Who was it?
And now I got to tell you, we have like all these vintage motorcycles out there all the time. We've got mini bikes out there all the time. It's like there's always, like you said earlier, there's always something going on. So,
and I'm the kind of brain that I want to see it all. So it really drives me nuts. And I'm like, well, the pinup contest is going on, but also the cars are racing, I think, right now. Looking around.
Right.
But yeah,
it's a blast
every year.
We had to stop the cars from being out on the track whenever the pinup contest was going on, because you couldn't hear the girls when they were talking on the microphone, because there's so much.
A 57 Chevy.
Yeah. So we now stopped
Chevy.
that. So, but yeah, I look forward to seeing you again, man. And I was thinking about heading down to Lone Star Roundup this year, but I just with it being the week before Vintage Torque Fest and other things going on.
You got a lot on your plate that week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I was talking to Max and Candace about, okay, those two are back to back, and like, oh, they are? Oh. Okay, because they were kind of talking about, they're thinking about taking the kids to both. Like, well, maybe just having the kids out of school for like 2 weeks in a row, so maybe we won't do that. But
yeah,
it's rough, man. How do you go? I mean, one's 9 hours from me that way. One's 9 hours from me that way. That's that's 36 hours worth of driving in 9 days. If I do both of them.
Totally.
So I'm gonna look at the schedule, see if it's possible to come this year. I don't know if it's possible. I have a week less vacation than I used to have, so I've got to be really stingy with my days. In fact, if I do everything that's on my schedule right now, I'll be 1 day over vacation by the end of the year. So I'm trying to whittle out a half a day from this event and a half a day from that event, so I can come out where I'm supposed to be. So
right. Well, I think I always like I said earlier, man. Make sure you go to one new event this year. Try to go to one new event.
Trying to.
Yeah, that's key. Because you never know when you're going to meet your best friend for the rest of your life at one of these events.
I have met a lot of very close friends at these events, and even at TorqueFest. I showed up at Farley, and I'm pretty sure I knew you and one other person there.
Wow.
I mean, I'd met Bob K before. I wouldn't say I knew him, so I'd met him before. So I showed up at that show. I guess a couple of the punk riders were there, and I had met them at Greaserama, but I didn't know them at all.
Right.
So those days for me, it's harder and harder to find a really cool show that I don't walk in and know half the place. So it is fun though to go to those, and especially when if you haven't been to it in 3 or 4 years, go check it out again. See if it's a cool thing. But folks, if you've never been to Vintage TorqueFest, I urge you, go to royboyproductions.com, go into the event coverage, and there'll be a little search deal on the right hand side, I believe. Just put in Vintage TorqueFest, and I've got all the posts from every time I've been there. Literally, there are thousands of photos from this event over the years at the 3 different locations it's been at too. So all 3 locations are represented there. And it's been a couple of years since I've been up, and I need to get back up there, and I'm hoping I can do it this year, but I don't know if I can make it happen. But if you can, you need to go check it out. If hotels are too expensive in Dubuque, stay in Davenport. It's not that far of a drive. It's like an hour and 15 minutes.
Exactly.
I mean, Davenport's on I-80, so there should be plenty of hotel rooms there. That's where I stayed when I went to Meltdown. That's where I'd stay at Davenport, because that made Sunday's drive 2 hours shorter on the way home. So
right.
There's plenty of options. If you don't want to pay for the hotel rooms in Dubuque, look around in some other towns. Make it a little bit of a drive. It's worth it to go to TorqueFest. I
appreciate it, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Where can people find out information about the show?
VintageTorqueFest.com, and then I'm not real good at updating the website.
I've noticed.
It's just I've got a lot of stuff going on, but
that's what I tell people too.
So this is the Vintage TorqueFest. I'm not sure if you can see that.
Yep.
On Facebook, if you just search Vintage TorqueFest, TorqueFest, Vintage TorqueFest, then you'll find it on Facebook, and that's. Yep.
I'll put links in the show notes to the official pages as well, because I know there were some people copying your event pages a while back, and so all that stuff you have to deal with too. But I'll put the links to the official ones on my website in my show notes for this show. If you cannot find them, go check out the show notes for this episode. You will find the official links there.
Right on.
John, get back to your family. Have yourself a wonderful night. Thank you for taking time, and we need to do this more often without this thing recording, just to BS. If we're not going to run each other as much. I'm going to try to get out to Indy. I probably won't be able to make it for the full 3 days this year like I usually do, but I might slide in there late Friday afternoon, check out the show, and start hauling butt home Saturday evening kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Just have to see how that goes. I might end up having to go vend at Back to the 50s.
Oh,
Don't
wow.
know yet. The schedule has been since I started this job to be at Back to the 50s. Well, the first year COVID didn't have it. Last year, our semi broke down the day before we were supposed to leave, so we didn't go.
No.
Now we have a new employee, and they're talking about taking him and leaving me back at the shop because I'm the one that does the phone. So at least I can still take orders and ship what I can while he's gone. So I probably will never get to Back to the 50s now. And you know what? If I have to go to work a booth to be there, I don't really want to be at the show. I mean, I want to check the show out, but if you're working a booth the entire time, it's not fun.
It can be a grind, that's for sure, because that's a 3-day power-packed event. I mean, you start off at 8:00, you're busy at 8:15, and then just
8:05.
It's crazy. Because I've vended there, I've vended there like 8 years in a row, something like that. And it's crazy. And I always tell people, like, that is a really, really great show as well, because they They just are like, anything 64 or older, come on in. And right, is it 64? I think it's 64.
Something like that.
But
it gets massive, like 14,000 cars or some craziness. So, and now that the borders opened up, it might be big again this year.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people think that the Louisville, the Street Rod, NSRA is like the show. For me, it's so much better at Back to the 50s because of that fairground. Full trees. Yeah, and so to me, that alone is better than the NSRA down in street, the Louisville show, just because it's not on a blazing asphalt in August.
I'll tell you what, and I said we're going to end this. We are going to end this after this. I'll take the Hot Rod Showdown with 150 cars, Hot Rod Hill Climb with 150 cars, Hot Rod Dirt Drag with 150 cars, over 12,000 cars in a no atmosphere venue.
Yeah,
any day. Or Torque Fest 700 cars or whatever he had the year last year.
Right.
The venue has atmosphere.
Yeah. I agree with you.
The Good Guys show in Kansas City, love Good Guys, great folks, put on fun events. It's not that show was never my bag, man. I was always only at the the Good Guys show that weekend, so I was closer to the Greaserama when it opened at 3 p.m. on Sunday, the way it used to.
Yeah. So. For sure. That's exactly it. And I mean, some of the Good Guys events are great. The one in Iowa is really good.
Great show.
Yeah. But the atmosphere and the layout of these, buildings and the trees and all that kind of stuff, it does make a difference,
The bucket of chocolate chip cookies at Des Moines. Mm.
And Back to the 50s.
And I hear they're better in Minnesota. So, all right, John, you have a great night, sir. Thank you for being on the show. Everybody go check out Vintage Torque Fest. If you have never made it before, make plans to be there. If you can't make it this year, make schedule to be there for next year. Okay.
Absolutely.
Vintage Torque Fest is a great time. It raises money for a great cause to help families who are literally in need. And there's just nothing more honorable we do with our hot rods. So enjoy your evening, John. Thank you for being on. And
all right, man.
See you down the road somewhere, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Later. And it's always a really good time talking to John. Unfortunately, I recorded that almost 2 weeks ago, and I have just been slammed. I've not had a chance to finish this podcast and get it out. So we're a little behind getting it out. In fact, I've even recorded the next podcast already before this one goes out. And the night that I'm recording this for 213, I should have released 214 today. That's how far behind I am right now. No excuses. I've just been lazy or too busy or some combination there in between. So as I'm recording this right now, and massive thunderstorms getting ready to head through Kansas, so I expected any minute the power is going to flash out. It's going to get crazy. The storm's not here yet, but the wind's been picking up all day. So we'll see what happens here in the next few minutes. I want to talk about a couple different things right now. Number one, I want to talk about getting out and supporting shows. And these last couple of years, a lot of us sat at home and did nothing. And a lot of people had shows planned, had shows that they'd spent a bunch of money already getting money on it, getting it together. And a lot of people just lost a bunch of money on those shows because they just couldn't have them. And now here we are a couple years later. Almost all the shows are coming back at this point. And so I just really want to, suggest to you to get out there and support those shows. Support people like John Wells who do Torque Fest. Support the Stray Cat Customs crew doing a Stray Cat 500 and the Starliner, or not Starliner anymore. The Stray Cat 500 and the Lead Ain't Dead. Wow, step back in about 4 years ago. Words are really hard. Mouth's not working. Invasion, Pistons and Paint, Lone Star Roundup. That's coming up here in a few days' time. I guess Viva is this weekend as I record this. There's just a ton of shows out there, and I mean thousands of other shows in between all those big ones, of course. But definitely get out there and support the local shows, support the shows in the next state you've always thought about going to. Go check it out. Even if you're just driving over in your daily and not driving your cool car to it, even if you have to do that, which I'm having to do right now because my Galaxy's about 15 feet over here and it's broken. And all you can do is just go out and support the people who put on these great shows so that they can continue to put them on. So I just really want to encourage you to get out and do that. In this crazy world we live in, you got to take time to do the stuff that makes your heart happy. Definitely have not been taking enough time to do that lately, and I'm been pretty freaking miserable, So just so everybody knows out there, I appreciate all of you that tell me that you listen to the podcast. I had a guy call the shop today and said, "Hey, just so you know, I listen to your podcast," and he made his order. That made me feel really good, man. And I need more of that in my life. So, if you listen to the show and you see me out in public, hey, say hi, say thanks for putting them out because you enjoy listening to them. If you hate them, show, why are you listening? But thank you for downloading, I guess. Just support those who support the hobby that you enjoy. Go to the car shows that are out there. Listen to all the cool podcasts. Next episode is going to be with the Custom Couple. They just released a podcast, the Swapcast with me on their network. I'm going to release it in just a few days. Support all these other hot rod and custom culture podcasts, and make sure that other people know about them. And I get a lot of people who are still like, "Hey, what's a podcast?" Like, man, just play it for those people. Just say, "Hey, look, you have an iPhone, you have an Android, whatever. It's right here. Here's how it automatically downloads to your phone every week. And when you're out in the shop or you're on a long drive or you're going to work, whatever, just turn that on and listen to some cool hot rod and custom car stories. This is episode 213, and man, it's taking a crazy amount of work to get to 213. And I'm looking at it going, how do I even get to 300? Who do I have on to get to 300 at this point? It's crazy. But yeah, get out there and listen to a bunch of shows. Tell some people about it. If you have an idea for a great show, and I don't just mean, Bob over here has some fun stories. No, find somebody who's really a good talker. Somebody who's got great stories and they're really good at telling them. Because I've had a few people as guests on the show that I had to drag every freaking word out of their mouths, and it was just torturous for me. I know it couldn't have been as much fun for you as it might have been if they just would have loosened up and told their stories a little bit better. So if you have anybody like that, send it over to Travis at RoyboyProductions.com. Just say Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes guest possibility. I can't guarantee I'm going to get to them. If it's somebody I have no idea who they are, I've never met them, they've never met me, I don't know why I should have them on the show. So, share some of that with me. That's really about it for this episode. I'm going to shut this down before the storm shows up. I'm actually kind of afraid of the hail right now because I can't replace the daily driver. Don't have the cash for that, and it's going to be totaled if there's a hailstorm like other parts of the state are getting right now. So stay safe. Don't die. I'll see you at a show. Thanks for listening to another episode of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. If you got to this point, that means you listened to the whole show, and I appreciate that. So I want to throw one thing out here. If you dig what I do with these podcasts, you dig what I do with RoyboyProductions.com, please consider going over to Patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. Patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. That's where, if you feel like it, you can say, hey, you know what? I'll throw Royboy $1 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month because I appreciate what he does. Talking about myself in the third person sounds really weird. So, forgive me for all the weirdness here. If you dig what I do, please come over here and help support what I do because it takes a lot of money to go to these events, to stay in the hotels, to buy this expensive equipment. All of my equipment is getting pretty old. So the podcast recorder right now is held together with just prayer. I think that's the only thing making it continue to work. And I will need to buy a new one at some point this year. And they're quite pricey. So I'm not trying to complain, just saying thank you for all the people who have helped me over the years by buying hats and shirts and stuff. I'll have new shirts out this year. And in the meantime, you can go over to RoyboyProductions.com, check out all the stuff I have there. If you feel like throwing a couple dollars a month at me, I really would appreciate it. It's Patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. And I'll work out some stuff that the people who donate there get a little bit of heads up and get some stuff ahead of time. All right. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye now. Well, somebody's got to ride this dinosaur.